I would make is that the committee was briefed by DED Director Silverman regarding the status of the negotiations between the neighborhood and Westfield Costco. And one of the other things that I put on in front of you was a letter from the Kensington Heights Civic Association expressing their objection to disbursement of the FY12 funds and objection also to the FY13 appropriation.
So that's the committee recommendation.
Mr. Elrich.
I had a question for Mr. Silverman in regard to the Kensington Heights letter. And it's been my concern for a while. Is the purpose of consultation and good faith negotiations simply to say I sat down and talked and then said no to everything? Or what? I mean, what do you determine to be? I mean, your closing note is not to the satisfaction of the Kensington Heights Citizens Association. I get that. Was anything truly given or negotiated, or was it everything a no? Because the way I read their letter, there's no concessions of any meaningful nature.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Steve Silverman, DED. I don't know if you have a copy of the March 8 Westfield letter outlining the details. I know that KHCA does, and the county executive did.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to share that with you orally, because the county executive and this department certainly believes that good faith discussions involve concessions. On the loading dock, what Westfield has agreed to do is to put a solid screen wall installed directly adjacent to the truck dock, offer to install an additional wall along the curb line adjacent to the ring road and buffer, and enhance landscaping in the buffer area adjacent to the loading dock. KHCA wanted the loading dock moved. Westfield was not prepared to do that, but they're going to do these three things. I can go through each of these items.
I mean, I've read that. So what happens if none of this addresses, for example, the sound concerns of the loading dock at the back? I mean, are they just done? I mean, is the position going to be this is a final solution if it doesn't actually work?
They're subject to the noise ordinance. And the enforcement of the noise ordinance, which the executive branch is ready, willing, and able to enforce.
And we heard, often about that regarding during the demolition of the project, that they weren't able to get much of a response to their concerns about activities that were occurring when they weren't supposed to be occurring.
Well, I certainly know that, I believe, if I recall correctly, DEP enforces the noise ordinance, and as my understanding from Director Hoyt, they stand prepared to receive and handle any complaints that are received with regard to noise issues on the site. The other items that are in here, concessions are, of course, in the eye of the beholder. Westfield Westfield and Costco offered what they consider to be concessions, and which I consider to be concessions in the context of the resolution that the council supported, recognizing that the language said that the residents' views have been considered without impinging on the economic viability, retail planning, retail design, and the operation of Westfield, Costco, or other retail stores in the mall. The only area that there was no concession at all made was in conjunction with the location and siting of the gas station, which I think everyone understood was going to be subject to a Board of Appeals matter through the special exception process, or perhaps a zoning text amendment. Perhaps. But there, on these other items, I respect the fact that there is a disagreement about the level of concessions that were made, but our office and the executive felt that that under the language of the resolution that the council passed, that meetings were held, documents were exchanged, there was a full and fair discussion that took place, and at the end of the day, we understand that KHCA is not happy with the outcomes, but we think it met the effort that the council had in putting the language in and that the county executive was committed to doing, which was in effect to get Westfield and Costco to do things that they would not have done but for the language in the resolution and the discussions that took place.
Okay.
Ms. Navarro.
Thank you. I actually had the same questions that Councilmember Elridge had, and was just hear your answers, but was wondering whether you think that there are any additional conversations or possibilities of going back and revisiting. And I know that you've said that this is better than what they would have done otherwise, but is this it? Is this the end? Is there something that you and the executive, in terms of looking at these different points, have looked at and said, well, maybe there could be some enhancement, et cetera, or are you pretty much done?
Well, I'd prefer to phrase it a different way, council member, which is that a year ago, the executive agreed to language in the resolution to try to resolve these issues. Our understanding is that Westfield and Costco have made what the concessions that they believe they're going to make at this point. Those were not acceptable to the neighboring association. I'm not sure what would be gained by further meetings. Westfield had an agreement to receive these monies as a practical matter at the start of this past fiscal year, and the executive agreed with the council to hold those in abeyance. We spent I guess it would be many months is the only way of describing it, since the letter that I sent to the county executive was in April, well into the fiscal year. So the bottom line is I don't think there is anything further that is likely to occur out of any negotiations by the parties at this point. People can always sit down, but I have no sense that Westfield, Costco, are prepared to make any additional concessions, nor do I believe that the neighboring association is willing to accept what Westfield and Costco have put on the table, as evidenced by their letter. And at some point, the process comes to an end. Ideally, parties walk away happy. In this case, that's clearly not the situation, but I don't see that there's any likelihood of that occurring through continued discussions.
Mr. Andrews.
Thanks. Well, I'm looking at the FY13 appropriation, and I see the FY12 appropriation that's broken out, but it's not completely clear to me from the packet whether the FY13 recommended appropriation includes $2 million for Costco, and if I missed that, I'm sorry, but I'm assuming it does.
Yes, it's in the change section.
All right.
That you, right.
On Circle 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I thought that was the case.
The
but
two,
wanted
if I
to
may,
confirm.
Council, the $2 million was already appropriated, subject to the language in the resolution,
Okay.
which held up the disbursement, and then
Okay.
this is the FY13 tranche. It
All
was
right.
split up into two.
Well, I continue to oppose public funding for Costco. Costco is welcome to come to the Westfield Mall. I think Costco is a company that provides services that many people value, but I don't support a public subsidy for it, and so I continue to oppose that portion of this economic development fund. And I do encourage Costco to continue to work with the neighbors of the location to try to resolve issues in a way that's mutually acceptable.
All right. Mr. Leventhal.
Yeah, well, since there's press in the room and who knows what attention this will get, I just want to put on the record, I hear from constituents all the time who are very enthusiastic about Costco coming and hope it opens soon. So, you know, I'm sensitive to my constituents in Kensington Heights. Obviously, like all council members, I've had a lot of dialogue with them, and I think they have very real and legitimate issues. And in fact, the language encouraging consultation was put in last year's budget because I suggested it. I understand that the outcome of the consultation was not 100% satisfactory to the citizens in Kensington Heights. I am sensitive to their issues, but boy, in the immediate neighborhood and all over my constituency in lower and eastern Montgomery County, and even outside of lower and eastern Montgomery County, I hear from a lot of people who are really looking forward to having Costco at Wheaton Mall, and I just wanted to say that because I do think there's another side to this story. I think it's going to be popular and successful with our constituents.
Mr. Elrich, again on this item?
I can't let that go without saying something about it. I mean, I could, but I'm not going to. It is so hard. It would be a struggle for me to
Breathe,
do that.
grasshopper, breathe.
So- I am breathing. I'm totally at peace, Master. Look, no, this wasn't about Costco, and we all know this. This money isn't going to Costco. This is going to Westfield, so Westfield could put Costco on the second floor because Westfield wanted Costco to be an attractive thing to the tenants who are on the second floor, which is the primary floor of the mall. Costco would have come on the first floor, Costco would have come on a pad, and any developer in their right mind would have taken Costco anywhere in that shopping center. We're just paying for Westfield so they can put Costco on the second floor and they can put some other shop underneath it. And because Westfield, not Costco, didn't want to spend another $4 million on the building. Costco had a great argument because I looked at what Costco paid all around the country for their buildings. And by the way, the other malls they went into, they were owned by Westfield, where they did not get a deal like this because they're on the ground floor. Costco said they would pay Westfield what they normally pay for the cost of a building. Why should Costco pay more to Westfield to be in this mall when basically the beneficiary of Costco in that mall is really going to be Westfield? So I just think, we shouldn't portray this as the deal for Costco to get Costco there. And frankly, a lot of people do want Costco, and I have no doubt that Costco is going to be successful. My objection is that an even bigger mega corporation, Westfield, is the one that bled the county out of the $4 million that they could have easily paid the additional construction. They just didn't feel like it, and we decided we would assist them. That's the part I object to, not the Costco's coming there. And the residents that have contacted me never said, we don't want Costco here. They objected to the payment of the county money to Westfield. That's what this is about, just to be clear.
No, hello. Okay. There is a bit of Groundhog Day going on here, okay, folks? So we've been there, done that, and now we have certain decisions to make and to go forward. So let's not
So we have
totally
a unanimous
reflow.
committee I think it's
we've got a
unanimous on
committee
all this,
recommendation
yes.
before us, and therefore, in the absence of anybody forcing a vote on this issue, it is so approved. Okay, are we done?